This is DJ New. The most interesting DJ in the world. DJ New. Interesting DJ in the world.
Weddings. Music. And wine. With New.
This is DJ New. The most interesting DJ in the world.
Yes, it is the most interesting DJ in the world. It's your head of the table and head of this podcast. Welcome to Weddings, Music, and Wine with New. Live streaming right now on Spreaker.com. Available later on all major streaming services, including iHeartRadio, Spotify, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, and JioSaven, the largest Indian streaming service in the world. Sponsored in part by The Den, ENT, because you can find everything you need in the Den. It is now episode 6 with New. Father's Day. Also the 1 month anniversary of this show being born, and a huge congratulations to 1,000 listeners already. So we have a lot to celebrate today. And I'm streaming live from Adrice Wine's Tasting Room and Bistro here in Woodinville, Washington, with co-owner and tasting room manager Miss Julie Boris. I said it right, didn't I?
You got the last name right. The winery was a little off. It was Adrice.
Adrice, well, like just like an address.
Yeah,
okay, so
exactly.
so she's gonna sit here and you're gonna make sure I say it right, because she's promoting her place. So I will be talking with her throughout this whole episode with some feel good instrumental music playing in the background, some featured original music as well. Sure, we will be hearing many other voices as guests and staff interactors also. So of course it's all about the wines today with Adrice Wines here in Woodinville, Washington. So like I mentioned before, this is the 1 month anniversary of this wonderful podcast with 1,000 hungry listeners, and it has expanded to even more states, including California, Iowa, and Texas, and of course other countries across the world, welcoming in India, Saudi Arabia of all places, and Brazil. Thank you for tuning in, and many more welcome to join in as well. All right, let's start off with some music first off and get in that Sunday mood with weddings, music, and wine. Actually, we're not even going to start with the music. We're just going to let Miss Julie talk for a little bit. We're going to introduce her, make sure she gets in on all this action. So like I said, I'm streaming right now live from Adrice Wine's Tasting Room and Bistro with Miss Co-owner and Tasting Room Manager, Miss Julie Boris. Say hello to all my wonderful listeners, Miss Julie.
Good morning, afternoon, and evening, wonderful listeners. Happy Father's Day. Happy Juneteenth if you're in the United States. And happy almost summertime in Seattle.
I know, right? All right, Miss Julie. Let's get into some of the questions. I kind of prepped you on them a little bit earlier. So first off, how did you get started in wine? Is this a family-owned business? Where are you originally from? Tell the listeners a little bit about your personal and professional background.
Sure, it'd be my pleasure. Thank you for coming and asking. So, again, I'm Julie, the second half of Adrice Wines. My wife, Pam, and I own the business together, and we started our business, about 10 years ago. We were down in Napa, Sonoma. Pam has actually been in the wine industry for about 25 years now. She has had a very mixed background, doing all sorts of amazing things with 3 different master's degrees. And at one point in her life, several years ago, she owned a landscaping business.
Nice.
And she was doing landscaping out at Chateau Ste. Michelle here in the Seattle area in Woodinville. Thank God for Chateau. I think they put Washington on the map when it comes to wine. So she was out there doing all their landscaping, and if you've ever been out there, they have lots and lots of awards. Many of them Pam won for them because of the beautiful landscaping she did. And after a couple of years, one of the gentlemen in the cellar came outside and said, God, you do some really good work. You should come in and work for us. And Pam kind of poo-pooed it a little bit, but then she was like, well, that might be interesting. So she went in, she started working. I don't remember her exact title. I want to say, head of operations or something. She's really, really handy and can keep anything working.
Yeah.
So her job was to make sure that everything worked at Chateau Ste. Michelle. And then fall came, and she got her hands involved in harvest.
Nice.
And started falling in love with the experience of winemaking. And 2-3 years into it, she just was really loving her job, and she went to that manager and said, hey, you know what, I'd really like to go over to Eastern Washington to your facility out there. I want to see the vineyards. I want to see the much bigger production area. I want to learn more. And they said, no. She was like, what? No, you're not going to let me go. No,
right.
No, we need you here. We need you in this job. And she's like, well, I want to learn more. And if you don't let me go, I'm going to leave. And they're like, yeah, right. Nobody ever leaves us.
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, right. Bye-bye. So she left. Life happened. We happened to meet online. And I was living down in Portland at the time. So Pam came down and moved in with me in Portland. And she went down to Oregon wine country and got involved in harvest and winemaking down in Oregon and learned about Oregon Pinots.
Yeah.
So she started with Washington and then Oregon Pinots. And then I had and still have a full-time day job. And I got a promotion in my day job, and we were going to move down to the Bay Area. So we moved down there, and Pam comes, of course, because by that time we're married, and now she's working in California wine country.
Okay.
So she's worked up and down the West Coast, which really differentiates her amongst other winemakers, because most winemakers, you live in Washington, you stay in Washington.
Yeah.
You just know those grapes. But Pam has made wine up and down the West Coast and is very, very good at making it. I just reprinted a list over there on the wall. I think in the last 10 years since we've been producing our wines, 2012 being our first vintage, she's won almost 80 awards.
Oh, wow.
So she's very, very gifted at winemaking. If anyone has ever come and visited, they would have said, wow, those are good wines. She got started through actually landscaping. When we met, I probably was more of a collector, a mild collector, a younger collector, didn't have a ton of money, so my collection was kind of the midpoint. Didn't have a lot of money to spend on wine. But of course, as your palate matures and you make more money in your job, you kind of buy nicer wine. Mm-hmm. So, at one point, Pam got this wild hair and said, hey, let's go to school. So we went to Washington State. We did their viticulture program online, and we learned about grape growing, and she learned about wine making. And kind of after 25 years in the industry, she just has been making wine and has tons and tons of experience.
Nice.
Yeah, that's how we got started. So we started it on our own. It was not a family business before us. We love to celebrate diversity. We have a very, very diverse wine club membership.
Yeah.
And what really stands out for us is the fact that our tasting list is really diverse.
Yeah.
So I think right now I probably have maybe 17 or 18 different wines on my tasting table.
Nice.
All over the map, from French to Italian to, of course, when I say that, I mean the grapes tend to hail from that area. Of course, they're all Washington grapes, but Pam is very, very diverse in her winemaking. We don't make a lot of wine. We're still considered a small craft winery. We probably make, I want to guess, about 3,200 cases a year.
Yeah.
But she makes a ton of different varietals, just small batches of a lot of different wines.
Yeah.
And that diversity brings a lot of people to our door to get to taste a Montepulciano or a Barbera, or wines that, like a Syrah that was aged in a whiskey barrel. Wines that you really won't find at other wineries, and that's what kind of differentiates us a bit from other wineries.
That's awesome, man. That was so much information. I took it all in too.
What?
I took it all in. I think you actually answered one of my other questions too, because the other question was like a degree. So you guys got the degree as well.
Yeah, Pam has a ton of masters. I've got a master's. We both are well educated. But the degree we got was from Washington State, and it was a certificate program. It's not. We didn't go to like
a 4-year college
or anything. A lot of it has been learning on the job. Pam has been in the industry for a long time. And has worked with some very impressive winemakers in California and Oregon and here in Washington. So she's, is seen as a mentor for a lot of people. A lot of people who are curious about winemaking. Even people join our wine club because they're curious about winemaking. And she mentors a lot of people who are learning about winemaking.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. That is awesome. Okay. All right. All right. Well, what has surprised you so far about being a wine owner? Both of you, matter of fact.
I don't know. How expensive it is? What do they say? If you've got an extra $1 million, you'll blow it.
Right.
Not as if I had $1 million, but yeah, it's probably like any business. It's expensive. You know, it's and especially in this day and age with the price of gas increasing, the grapes and the glass. I mean, we just did a big bottling this last week. Pam said we had spent $15,000 just on bottles alone.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and of course there's labels and corks and all the other things.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really interesting how expensive it is to own a winery. And Pam makes beautiful wines, so it's fun that people really enjoy them and support us and buy our wines and help us grow. Nice.
Okay. Well, all right, Miss Julie. That's, like I said, a lot of information. I appreciate you filling the listeners in, filling me in on, your background. That's awesome, too, and congratulations to both of you. What's her name again? Pam? Pam, yeah, Miss Pam. Yeah. Shout out to Miss Pam. I mean, we probably should have went ahead and sent her the link so she can actually at least listen in to you. So maybe we'll do that. We're going to get into a little bit of music right now. We're talking with Miss Julie Bulris here at Adrice Wines here in Woodinville, Washington. We're going to do a little international Latin hip-hop instrumental cocktail hour type music. And we're going to come right back and we'll have Miss Julie sit here and talk with us about some of her, we said party wines? The party wines that you brought out?
Party wines.
Got some party wines. So we're going to talk about some party wines when we come back. All right, everybody. We'll be right back. Thank you for listening in to Weddings, Music, and Wine.
Yo, DJ!
Are you done mixing yet?
Your DJ has only just begun.